before we get started, I just wanted to say a couple thank yous. First, to Jennifer Keel. Jennifer Keel is our museum director. I don't get to say thank you enough, so I like to take every opportunity to do so. I know that she's worked with you very closely, and she obviously does a lot here for us at Moulton Museum. So thank you, Jennifer, for all you do. And she will, and the docent team will be available for tours after your meeting, so you can spend time here after you're done with your business. Also, I want to thank Frank Sanchez over here. He gave us a ride on his beautiful cherry red Farmall tractor, Betsy, right?
Whatever you want to call it.
Betsy, something.
She's getting a good name. Otherwise, when she don't run, she gets the other name.
He hauled us around at the Laguna Niguel Holiday Parade, and that was just a ton of fun. Thank you. And also, just thank you to all of you with the Saddleback Area Historical Society. You know, you've been around a long time, and I'm sure there were moments when the easiest thing to do would have been to fold it all up and say, well, it's been a good run. But you've persevered, and that's really admirable. So thank you for doing that, because it's important to the community to have its history, and you guys have been committed to that. So thank you for blessing us with your efforts and continuing on the fight. Couple of notes. One, speaking of parades, the Swallows Day Parade is coming up, and we're going to put an entry in there. We're either going to have a hay wagon or a stagecoach, something like that. And so if any of your members want to join us, we'll do a joint banner if you want to present it that way, and we'll cover those fees. So just come on and have some fun. If you want to do that, we'll get the text together and make sure there's a script so that you're recognized by the people with the microphones on the day of the parade. So if you want to do that, that's available to you. Also, I just wanted to make a note. In the gallery where the travel exhibition is right now, we're going to have a new artist coming in. He's internationally celebrated. He's an amazing watercolorist. But from your point of view, which I think is important, he's also got really deep Orange County roots. He's got a long history. He splits time between Capo Beach and the state of Maine. But he's been around for a long time. His name's Timothy J. Clark. And his exhibition is going to open on the 10th of February, and it's going to be around for a little over a month. If you want exclusive time, we're going to have time on a number of Saturdays. Jennifer can help schedule that so that your group just gets time with the artist. So we want to make that kind of time available to our friends like you. So just put that in mind. But moreover, what I wanted to just say is relationships matter, and especially with good folks. And the relationship with the Moulton family and Saddleback Area's Historical Society has gone on for a very long time. Our relationship with families like the Forrester family has gone on for even longer. And keeping those ties is really important. And we see this meeting being held here as an important part of that. And we're thrilled to not only continue the relationship, but make it stronger. So we want you to feel at home here. We want you to consider it your home. When you want to have things like this, we'd love to work with you and continue to do so. So with that, I just say thank you and have a wonderful meeting. You got it.
Thank you, Jared. Hi, everyone. I feel like I know so many of you for years now. I thank you for just being here at the Moulton Museum, Jennifer Keel. And I've loved history since I was very little. I bet many of us feel that same resonance of connecting to a historic spot like the Mission. And you're like, 1776, like, come on, birthdays of Orange County. And you connect to the land, you connect to the people, you connect to the places like I did. My path was traditional. In grad school, I found history to be the most exciting class I could ever take, and was given the opportunity to conduct a lot of oral histories and start my journey into the museum world with public history emphasis. I've been in the field for 10 years, may not look like it if you're kind, doing exhibit designs at the Nixon Museum, at Balboa, at the Brea, And I specialize in nurturing community collections and gathering stories. So when I met Saddleback Area Historical Society, my eyes lit up and I thought, there's something there. There's something that's been years and years and years with friendships in the making beyond. And I am honored to handle your history. I've spent many hours with Maggie and learning about your library. I've spent time with Rita. I've spent time with your core leadership, Eddie. He's here now. He's with us here virtually. And it's just been this beautiful journey of learning about your history, and I can't thank you enough for letting me preserve that. I don't know if you know we're partnered officially, but that means for us caring for your collections, caring for your heritage, making sure that we're honoring the heritage of years of making these memories possible. And so building out the museum was something the family did because they love history, and this is them today. So the Moulton family is well represented from the years of Louis and Nellie Gale and their 2 daughters. This all blossomed into this amazing group who is vested in funding this organization. And so they specialize in keeping Orange County's ranching area alive. So it's not just their family, it's your families that they want to hear from and share all these wonderful things for the community at large. And the kids are involved, as you know, Jared for years, and Charlotte, his grandma, spent a lot of time with you all in the Pioneer Council, collecting oral history, sharing stories, and your library represents generations of that. So our goal is to keep growing into the incorporated lands of this area and telling stories in ways where there's permanent displays, or we travel and we tell brand new stories of that 21,200 acreage. And if you are like us, you'll go to all these celebrations with us. So now that you're partnered in, we'd love to keep you attracted in all those exciting moments of Swallows Day to dedications, artist private tours, and just being able to be a part of who we are. So we really mean that. We really want you to be a part of this. My biggest task this year, I'm going to share a bit about why I'm here, and it's sort of a call to action for you all because you're the experts in the room about women's histories, because many of you have family have been here for generations, and it's in your homes, it's in your albums, it's in your memories, and we're trying to take that history from yourselves as proxy, and you share that as an oral history, get it on the record so that I have the honor and privilege to handle that and install it in the community, have a display on your family's legacy members. So for us, it's telling Nellie's story because that's who we know best, and starting through a journey of the Midwest and being thrown up in a tornado as an infant and surviving, and I'm preaching to the choir here as Mary Lee Lindquist has this wonderful, wonderful way of telling her story like no other in historical period clothing, and honors her. And so I've been so inspired by your work in the community. So it's been exciting to say it's through that lens that we'll be able to launch together and tell the stories of Louise when she was just a child running through the dirt roads and one foot on one horse and one on the other on their way to school, and how they lovingly called their neighbor and business partner Grandma Daguerre, and how she knit them Christmas vests and left these beautiful messages that we have in the archive that will be on display for the first time in this museum. We're collecting recipes like Charlotte's famous black bottom pie that the family starts salivating just on the thought of it, and how manicured and cared for her home was, her sense of pride that she was always up early, 5 a.m. in a formal wear, loving her family and caring for her community. And her polar opposite sister, Louise, who was always in the roundup, always had dirt in her hair, always in the midst of a calving and a roundup, and her nature of loving animals like they were her children. So there's a sensitivity of animal husbandry and care, and that there's different ways to be a mom, and that's kind of how I feel like she gave back, is to love the land, land and just caring for animals. So each of these ladies will be profiled, and then when you think of El Toro and how small society was, everyone gathered there, and all the big news happened there, and that's how Nellie Gale met Mr. Moulton that summer of 1903, and that wonderful summer vacay she had as a teacher, helping her dad keep shop. We even have, in this case right here, John Gale's advertisements for his dry goods, notions, and furnishings on loan from the Gale family. He had a series of general stores, one even in Huntington Beach. He was a handsome man and had a beautiful daughter. And I think that their courting years of 5 years, was very anticipated for this area. Who would marry the Rancho Niguel lead, this rancher who's building prosperity? And it would take a lady like Nellie, I think, to create the arts and culture that we all benefit from. So we'll tell the story of place, and we'll have dioramas. You've seen our railroader group, I believe. They have these wonderful stations, and so the Homestead station is going to be created. So you feel like even though downtown El Toro you can't go to, you can see it. It's a little railroad diorama that functions. So we're hoping that it will encourage the next generation who hear and goes to Heritage Hill and sees these historic places. They'll understand the layout of the place. And so how do we actually do that? So a lot of times people ask me, okay, so you have all these great things, great stories, great objects, but how? What's the process like? And when you research your own family, you might have that moment when you sign on to Ancestry. You're like, oh my God, like I didn't know I didn't have this tree connection. Can someone else help me? And it's always this sense of panic and joy. Like if I could only know more, if I only had this photo, if I only had that connection, just this much more information and I'll have this case closed feeling. So that's how I constantly feel here, because I have all these links and all these connections and all these boxes. I have all these acid-free boxes. And so what happens is that the family comes here and they drop off items. Everything gets rehoused because it goes from a home environment to an archive. Like it's suddenly not just an object of family history, it's now archival. And we're looking through all these things, these personal papers and meaning. And I have to tell you, one of your very good members, Alexis Silva, has spent some good time with us here and helped us build boxes like these to tell the family story. Each member of the family has a folder. Each family member has newspaper clippings and connections. And so what we're doing is profiling everybody and telling them the future. What did they like to do? Where did they go? What did they eat? It's a social history. And we're going to places like newspapers.com, where we're scouring the collection, going to local history librarians and asking them, do you have more? Are there memoirs? Are there written notes? If it's missing, can we create a whole entire oral history on this person? Can we interview them? Is there a relative if they're not around? And so it's like a daring journey into this wild west of narrative of women. Like, how did they live? How did they arrive? How did they survive? If you were one to come in a canvassed area of like open area of like nothing's here, you're sort of starting something new, or culturally like creating businesses. And these women ran the ranch from 1938 to 1950. So when Lewis passed and the Daguerre women also had their Jean-Pierre passed, you're looking at some of the core leadership of this area, and the Amstoys sponsors the Daguerres in the 1874 arrival. So it's all this generational contacts and networking. And we use LinkedIn like there's no tomorrow, but the post office and the telegraph was certainly the way that they would find out about deals and business opportunities. And so we're trying to make sure the next generation knows how society connected. And it's not that different. Like a text message today is very much like a telegraph then. So we're making it fun here. But it takes a village. This is where we're like, great, I have all this research. I have all this memorabilia. Eddie loves his family history. I've spent time interviewing him and hearing his stories about El Toro running barefoot, meeting Mrs. Moulton for the first time and seeing her beautiful garden. And he's one of the few individuals now that can say he actually knew the family. And that's the like link that we're trying to create generationally. And so I asked, like, if you have anything on that area, especially on women, and have really interesting perspectives, please deposit it now so we can process. We have a team assembled. Michael's been with us for over a year. He's a Cal State Fullerton history student, and his love is ancestry. He's also a Yoruba, you know, and you think of family namesakes. We did the tracing. That very Dolores Yoruba on our photo around the corner is a connection and a family member. And I think seeing how your role here, giving tours, and like it's brought more joy to see that like layering of history and coming to life, because when it's personal, I think you become passionate. And this is what this is a community museum. And so we want your stories here so you'll be personal and passionate to send your family and friends to go see your display. That's really the heart of it. So there's more digging to do, and we're in the middle of researching, doing concept to design, looking through the records. We're going from paper to digital, more inventory, more transcription, sourcing objects, telling those object stories. Today, I just found out about a beautiful prospective object of a wedding dress being a part of our display, and it brings joy to know that an item like that could tell a story from lots of groups of people's memories, and it could be also share your wedding memory. Were you married here or where? I know a lot of people have places that when they revisit, those beautiful moments come back, and we have all the photos from the families, but if you have those kind of things too, we celebrate that. And of course, we have some incredible buggies. You're looking at one just right there, that very buggy right here. There's nothing like the power of storytelling of having an historic image and then the object there. That's the kind of displays that we're creating. We have this very smaller unit in storage right now with the girls. Will be pulled out for the very first time. It's being cared for right now and getting prepared for exhibition. So there's nothing quite like having the real thing in your personal family's connection. And if you'd like to loan something from your family, like a Singer sewing machine, maybe it's something sacred that your grandmother kept, that would help us tell a story. I don't have one yet, so that's the kind of object I'm seeking, is to show a washing board that was actually used by women on Blue Monday. After your Sunday best, Monday was the worst day of the week. It's when the pile was addressed, and women bemoan Blue Monday. So we'll discuss drudgery, but also joys of tea parties and fundraising, and how you can fundraise through tea. Like, that's how our association and museum formed in Laguna Beach, was Nellie Gale's presidency from 1948 to 50. So she knew how to throw a party. Look at one right here for Lewis Moulton. Only woman there. 50 years of arrival later, 1924, this is a moment in history. She was quite the lady and honored her husband for his leadership, and these are all founders of Orange County. All their names are detailed here, so maybe you belong to another historic society and want to say, hey, did you know they were present at this moment? It's kind of the joy is to keep discovering and finding out more. And so if you know more about their personalities, we'd love to fill in more on this photo and on the record. So we have so much fine art. We have ranching equipment, jewelry, adornment, and furnitures. And so the back area that's being designed right now by my sister and colleague, Cindy Keel, she'll be creating a Moulton experience where you'll feel like you're in the home, because we have all the images of what the home was like. We have rugs and furnitures and wares of, and it will feel like sort of like a parlor moment where you could sit down and relax and feel like the homestead is a part of your own story. Now we have the digital 3D you can see at the end of today's presentation. So keep looking for things through your home and see if there's something sacred that you'd be willing to loan. Be a year. So if those of you are interested, it means a lot, because that transit on the corner is on loan too from a private collector. And we've had things from the Bowers, we have had things from Autry and the Huntington. So we have major institutions who are also loaning to us. So our joy is to take the big collections and our personal collections and put them all together, along with the Moulton's beautiful things. So this last year flew by. Some of you were there at our incredible opening, and 1874 Into the West. I think it was pretty smashing start to what we think we can do as an organization and what we'd like to do long term. And our goals would be to keep that sort of high energy approach to storytelling. And Lewis's life was nothing but a whirlwind adventure, and finding that you can be a part of a story that details westward expansion and tell it through one person's perspective. There's a film that accompanies this, written by Scott Barnes, the cousin of Jared, and it's a script detailing from the personal letters of his life of like adventure. And so it's on YouTube. So if you have time, watch it today in person, or come back and ask us more, because our groups are here for you. And Nellie's art has been on tour, and she's been the matriarch of this family, and it's through her, in honoring her historic collection, we're able to tell a lot about California landscapes and change over time. These open en plein air collections detail how land and evolution of place, like some places are still open, like the canyon, but that was because of a fight, and it's like always about that and preserving land. So it takes somebody who's purposed and willing to protect something that's sacred. And Louise, little Louise, did the same at her property in Santa Barbara. She put an easement and conserved for perpetuity the care and love of California rangeland, as it should be, and we're losing that. So we're fighting on. And it's always about bringing in contemporary voices. So Jared mentioned this is our next show with Timothy Clark, and he's a watercolorist. We've had wonderful conversations of how to tell artist stories and their process, and you'll have an invitation to learn about, maybe you're an artist and you can have these wonderful conversations of style and technique and theme. So those are the dates that we'll be running, and you can always go to our website and learn more and subscribe and be there at all the receptions. So Nellie's art is now currently back here, but we often get invitations to take it to new venues, and it's already been at SoCA, at Casa Romantica, LCAD Gallery, the Muckenthaler Home, and Laguna Woods History Center. And so the fun thing is that these places are all digitally mapped in Matterport. So if you're a tech geek like I am and want to see in VR or just on your phones, you can take virtual tours. We try to archive our records and our exhibits that way too. So I think it helps for those who can't physically travel. I always love sharing what I'm doing with Eddie. I'm like, take a look at this virtual experience. How does this look? And you know, we can always use Zoom and all these tech things to transport people and tell stories. So I know you're among our good friends here in the Moulton Ranch Center has been bettered by your participation of being part of our museum, and we just know that our friends want us to keep growing and we want to do more together. And so our hope is that you'll think about volunteering here, maybe become a storyteller yourself. Maybe you're a former teacher, or maybe you love art curriculum and you're just like, I have a knack for that. And we have already classrooms booked for the spring. We can't wait to work with you in that capacity if that's your background. Or maybe you're just an amazing researcher and you're a really great storyteller and a writer, and you'd like to sit on our committee of Women on the Ranch and just want to critique and help and source and improve what we're writing and be the guide, in the sense of maybe you have a wonderful perspective that's not currently on the record, and we'll go find it. We'll go down to the site where we think it happened and be like archaeological ethnographic people of our times and go back and try to trace that tree and see if we can find out who that person was, because sometimes we only have a first name and the last name's missing, and it's terrible until we can find out more. And it's hard to not know who these individuals who have awesome photos of in the collection. And so you're the experts in that, and Saddleback area has some beautiful early photography of the area. And our partnership is getting to be able to digitize that and scan and display them. They're already on display. You'll see throughout the space that we've already utilized the partnership agreement that's already been in place for years, and saying stories matter, your stories matter. And so I hope, like, as you continue to journey as members of this society, as you go to meetings, you see friends you haven't seen for a bit, or making new ones, and you're intrigued about family history and documenting it. If you need help putting a box together, let me know. I want to make sure your family's history is protected, and maybe it's not depositing it here per se as a museum collection, but maybe you just want to do the good work and just be sure that your photos are in acid-free containers and will keep going into the next generation and are digital, and that they're shareable on social. And I really believe in that. I feel like as your partner in this, like, you should be able to do exactly what I do here. Like, that's really the heart of it. That's what I did for my family in writing their family history and finding out my relations. I'm like, oh, I'm related to Alexander Hamilton? Well, that's cool. Oh, William Blake? Wow. You know, like, it made you feel unique in the sense of connections to your past. And that's really the gift. And really our hope is to be able to verify for you and help you go into Ancestry and find your trees and figure out what elements missing. And I'm very passionate about that. And there is a team of researchers who work next door with us in the archive who specialize in genealogy, who specialize in family writings of memoirs, and we're no stranger to that. We've heard it all, we've seen it all, and if we haven't seen it, we'll work on it together. So how's that for an idea? But I just want to keep thinking about the ladies this year and just their role in society, because truly, where would we be without our moms, right? We couldn't exist, literally, if it weren't for them and their just love and their care. And in each society, we have all these things that we're going through. And right now, I would be denying heritage and history now if I wouldn't be telling you it's hard out there. There's some crazy things happening. We're witnessing history, right? And it's tragic at times what we see. But this is why I think it's important to slow down and why history matters. I've spoken to so many people who survived World War II. That was my first project, was interviewing women from the home front in World War II. And speaking of stories, that kind of stuff breaks you. When you hear about rationing and survival and bombings and constant fears of survival, and you're like, how did you do that? And they're like, one day at a time, one moment at a time, one meal at a time, one prayer at a time. And that takes you to where we are today. It's like, these ladies are going to be remembered. They're going to be honored. We want your ladies to be remembered and honored because it's through that strength, that strong sense of community, sense of value, sense of place that builds communities. And it's making those small connections and building a stronger connection to where you are. And even though Orange County's grown, we still haven't lost our way. And just like Eddie could grow up and run around barefoot on dirt roads, I still think we can still cultivate that with our small community values of bringing families together and nurturing and protecting what we know to be in that way. And so creating those spaces for the next generation to know who they are. And when they drive down the road and they see Avenida de Carlotta, they're like, oh, Charlotte. I would love for kids to say, she made the best bottom pie out there, and here's the recipe for it, Mom or Grandma. Can you help me make that? Like, that would be like so full circle for me, that somebody whose name is marked on here, and Marguerite O'Neill, as you drive past into our neighbors area, that you'll remember her love for land and her care for her community. And as you drive into the Irvine area and see the Irvine Boulevard, you don't just think James the First, Second, and the Third as powerful men and business dwelling as they were to develop the Irvine Ranch, but of Joan's love of the equine, her love of the art, and her passion. And then as you drive into Majeska and we see a display and we see these places that we know are meaningful, we'll think of theater and song and beauty and graces that this area was built on. And so I think that as we market, we're going to use street signs and things that are conventional in the sense of what we identify as places, helping to guide the community through it. And it's going to be a journey like that. So you can see it, idea it, like, oh, and then hopefully it resonates so that when you're around the dinner table, casually chatting about what you're up to and what you're hearing, you could share that story. So like, that's really what we're after, is like connecting. It's all about that connection. So, and that's what made me feel, I'm not from these parts, as they say. I grew up in Arizona, and everyone's like, how'd you learn history? I'm like, I read it, I listened to it, I absorbed it. I don't know anything but just like lessons that have been passed down through generations in this method of oral history, and it's sacred. And every time I hear a new story, that's why I always ask, people are like, why do you want it on the record? Well, I'm going to enjoy it because I can share it with permission, but if you can actually sit down and we sit through an oral history, we now have it forever preserved. And so That's really our big ask, is like participation from you all, since you all have that. And so I don't want to keep more time, but if you had any questions for me of like what our goals are, what we're up to with Women on the Ranch, if you have any fun ideas or just like want to share something fun about your own family story, I think it's important to provide a storytelling platform, because that's what I am. I'm a storyteller. I can't help it. So if you have any fun stories, I'd love for the audience to be able to share them today and go through any fun, exciting updates from the society as well, because I know you have a big year. Happy 50th, by the way. What an honor to be part of your 50th year. Like, that's incredible, and it's hard work, and it's diligence and leadership. So thank you in your role. Really appreciate you.
A very short business meeting, but afterwards, perhaps, especially if they've done the tour, they may have questions then.
Excellent. Excellent. Any words from Eddie? You have anything to say, Eddie? Can you?
Oh, no, hey, this is so neat. I'm just taking it all in.
Oh, good. So there's your crowd. Say hi to Eddie.
He is real.
Yeah, he's here. He's in the house. Yeah, I have to augment him. None of that AI stuff. Well, thank you. Have fun. Please have some coffee, have some cookies. Stay a while, won't you? Go journey through Nellie's life experiences locally and abroad with her last days of her travel exhibit as we close that out. Absorb it all. Enjoy. Thank you very much.
Now you have to work. First of all, we're going to start with elections. I did send it out to all the members, and nominations. We've had nothing back. Nobody else has nominated anyone. Nobody's been objected to. So now we ask you to vote for us. But anybody else? Well, I'll tell you what the jobs are. President is, of course, Eddie. He's been president for 2 years, and that's normally what people do, 2 years, and they go. But it's been such a weird few years that he said he would hang on until now. We're getting on track. We've got these great programs for the rest of the year, and we're going to be a great society by the end of this year. So he will hang on in there, unless someone else wants to do it. Okay. Then, and he will do that for another year. But we have to think about next year, who would like to come and head this organization, because we can't ask this much of him. He's in his 90s, and he does come here. He comes to the museum and does things at the museum. But, you know, he can Zoom. Fortunately, Zooming enabled us to keep him in touch. But now, you say I'm not loud enough, dear. Yeah. I know. People have problems hearing me. But what I'm here for is the elections. The nominations are President Eddie Grijalva, Vice President Rita Percy. Next is a Treasurer, Sue Martin, Secretary Marion Norris, Historian Margaret Carol Spear, sorry. And historian, librarian is Margaret Tapper. And then parliamentarian is going to be Frank, we hope. So anyone else want to do those jobs? No? No objection to anybody? No? Okay, so can we have a vote, please, to elect a board for 2024 by a show of hands? So, you not voting? Okay. Okay, so we'll say that's unanimous then. You were unanimously elected. And we will continue with Zoom meetings, though, because it's easier. Thank you, and I'm going to hand over to Rita now. Oh, anybody else who hasn't paid their dues? Because I'm collecting. Yeah. I'm also treasurer today.
We also have applications. if anybody-
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, if you want to join.
It's $15 a year, so.
A person, 20 for a family. So cheap, look what you get,
And
15
we have
bucks.
some wonderful things planned.
Oh, yeah. Tell them
Once-
about.
I would like to thank Jared and Jennifer. Well, didn't she do a fabulous job? We are just so excited to be part of the Moulton Museum and share a partnership with them. We're looking forward to a very productive and exciting year in assisting the museum in some of these beautiful projects that they have going on. So thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Jared, for allowing us to be part of this excitement. I'd like to thank Pat Forster for joining us today, and Kathy and the Forster family over here, founding fathers of way back. So thank you so much for joining us, and it's a pleasure to see you again.
We have some members of the Basques, and I think the Basques should be represented, Jennifer.
Yes, absolutely.
And have you got some Basques here you can talk to? Okay? Yes, you can. What about Mark? Isn't there a Mark? Got the same name as you anyway. Oh, it's one of the others that I don't know how to say that one. Niablis? You're the
Niablis, yes.
What's the other? Neblises.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you two can fight over who gives the report to the news, but you can't forget the Basques. They're party people. They are party people.
Our next big event, if you would save the date, is April 20th. And as you know, as Jennifer mentioned, we are celebrating our 50th year anniversary. So we're holding a tea at the Heritage Hill, and it's on the 20th at 2 p.m., and our guest speaker will be Jackie Nunez. So she's a storyteller, she's an educator. She brings the world of the Hashiman Indian alive. So we invite you to join us, and it'll be an RSVP, and we're really looking forward to that. So we will keep you informed. We have a newsletter that goes out, but we're excited about that. And we're also excited about Frank Sanchez and Carol joining the board. So if I could have a hand for these two people who will be giving their time. And in October, our October meeting will be held at Frank's compound, which is the Cook property.
Party time.
We will be having a luncheon out there to celebrate our 50th. And so that's just another date to keep in mind. I think it's the 24th, but we'll have more news on that. But we look forward to participating. We look forward with the museum. We're happy that we were able to join in the parade, and looking forward to the next parade and the next one. So it's been really fun. The Historical Society is excited. We feel like we've got a new boost and we're moving forward. So we need to thank you all for that. So thank you for coming today, and thank you again to the Moulton Museum. We do-
Minutes. Oh, sorry, are we going down the agenda?
Go ahead.
First, we don't have any minutes of the last meeting. Why did it say it got cancelled? We had a meeting, our last general meeting was at Heritage Hill in June. And then in January, we said something about, then the board meeting said something about here. We didn't have a meeting because of something or other. Oh, yeah. We had, I should remember that one. We had it at Prothero Mobile Estate, and that's where we gained Rita, because she actually volunteered when I asked for a volunteer to be Prime Minister.
No, you just asked me to volunteer.
You're on this side of the
I
pond,
didn't.
Will.
Yeah.
You're on this side of the pond.
Shoot. There's all that talk about tea earlier, you know. But yeah, so yes, we had our meeting there, but I obviously didn't do any minutes because I haven't got any. And so the last general meeting that I have minutes for is June, and you probably won't remember what that was, so I won't bother to read it if you don't mind. Then there's supposed to be a treasurer's report, but our treasurer is sick, and so she's not quite sure what she's got, so she didn't want to come and infect you. So there'll be no treasurer's report, but we are good. We do have a treasurer's report every board meeting, and so we're keeping an eye on her. She's not running away with the money. That's not why she's here.
Is it better than our government spending?
And I'm collecting money today, because it comes into the post office by me, I pick it up and then I take it to her. And I've got lots of, so if you've sent checks and they haven't been presented yet, it's because they're here in this little pile. But they will be, because I'm going to take them up to her home now. I thought she would be here, so I could pass them on, but of course she's not. Okay, so...
Does anybody have any questions?
oh yeah. No questions?
Or would anyone like to share?
Wait a minute, what do we go? History, wait a minute, we've got some reports yet. We have, you've done yours, I've done mine. Margaret and Carol, do you have anything to report? We're so efficient here. See how efficient this meeting is being run with this agenda here. No reports. You can talk to
We're
them.
looking at investigating getting a website for us. So for those of you who might be interested, I'm checking into the cost and the prices, and hopefully we'll partner again with Moulton on that. But that is something that we're going to be talking about in the near future.
Yeah, we're very fortunate that Carol is very, very media savvy. So we are going to be dragged into the 21st. I'm feeling my age today. 21st century, and we're becoming media friendly. Friendly?
That's actually a good
Visible?
point, because Rob has a great page, and that's how I found a
Oh,
lot of
yes,
things
yeah.
on
And
Facebook. But
that's
we can get a
great.
standalone and combine all the resources in one area. That's going to be a great focal point. And that way I can show you what I look like when I get up in the morning and feed my dogs, or other stuff, interesting stuff. But no,
Yeah, and that's another reason we're lucky, because Rob is coming to all our meetings now. Aren't you, Rob? Good lad. Good lad. You all heard that. It's not just going to be me nagging. Okay. Then he will videotape things and we can send it. We have so many members who live outside Saddleback Valley. We've got, usually when I put something on there, there's some woman from the East Coast who writes me something about this. So they're still watching us. They are out there, folks. They are watching you. Okay. So then you see, now they can see what you're all up to, because Rob is going to give the videotape to Carol, and she's going to send it to everybody. So do be careful what you say, and who you're with when you come here. Okay.
Why don't you see if Pat Forster would like to say anything?
Oh, yes, okay. Well, yeah, that comes under any business. We're doing,
ahead.
what are we doing now?
We're
doing
going down your
reports. We're doing
list.
reports.
Okay.
Right, now, any other business? Yes, we have some other business because we have Pat Forster here, who's been pressured into giving a speech too. Come on, Pat. You don't be friends with Rita because she'll make you do things. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, you did great.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pat Forster. When I was a kid, we would come up to the Moulton Ranch for the annual branding of the cattle. And me and my buddy, Deke Mathis, hung out together. Deke is Jared's father. He died recently, but he was a good guy. He went to Tustin High, as all the El Toro kids did, and we went to Capistrano High. So there was 2 women involved in the ranch. Charlotte was the mother of Deke and Louie, and she was very genteel, and she fit in with the Santa Ana Society and the Laguna Beach Society, and she was the El Toro Society. And her sister, I just saw her sister in a picture there. It brought back memories of her sister, Louise. Louise was a cowgirl. She'd be at the roundup roping cattle and branding cattle and do whatever it take to run a ranch. And one time she got mad at somebody didn't do anything right. They was doing something backwards, and she cussed him out. Just as good as any man could. So yeah, it was quite a group. Glenn Mathis was the he was the head rancher, and then there was Glenn Mathis was a rancher, and he ran things, not out in front, but sort of from behind. And he was a good guy. He had 2 sons. Deke, my friend, had Louie, who was a little bit older than me. Louie married a girl from Capistrano, Christy Arcardi, and they lived happily ever after. He died recently up in, I think they're near Lompoc. Yeah, say it right.
Matters.
That's right. Anyway, they live up there. Well, I think they both died. Yeah, Christy died recently. And Louie died, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago. Anyway, it was a small society, and you had to be part of the gang to get along, and the main thing was that you worked when you came to the roundup. You just didn't stand there and pontificate on branding the cattle. You grabbed a tool and got to work. Some guy reminded me the other day that I was a ball boy. And that it wasn't like it was the Rams or the Dodgers where they have a ball boy, but
Colorado oysters?
yeah, there was a portion of the roundup devoted to the boy calves where they lost their gonads, and the ranchers like to keep the balls, and then later on they would take them home and cook them up and for breakfast or for dinner. They were a good little addition to their
To the beans and frijoles.
huh?
To the frijoles.
The frijoles, yeah. So, one little kid was designated the ball boy because when the ranchers would cut off the balls, they had 2 balls from every calf, and they didn't stick them in their pocket. They had a little bucket with a thing on it, and the little boy would run up there and collect the balls. And this guy reminded me that I was a ball boy. I had forgotten a lot of that stuff.
Probably intentionally.
Yeah, no, it was quite an honor to be a ball boy, I guess. Nobody said anything. Nobody congratulated me. But I did my job, and everybody had a job and did it, so, hey, it was fun to come to the Moulton Ranch for the roundup. It's funny, looking at these pictures here, unlike Capistrano, where we had gentle rolling hills, all the hills in this area were very steep. And you'd go to the ranch, and then the work would be done, and the kids would climb the hills or something, just to be kids, do kid stuff. But these pictures here today reminded me of how steep, how actually really steep these hills were in this area. So anyway, I was there and I did my part, and you can nominate me as the honorary ball boy of Saddleback Area Historical.
Next year we'll make it a board position. Yeah, board position for next year.
They'll give you a bucket and everything.
There you go. Hey.
I think I let everybody know, but just after I put the newsletter out, Harvey's daughter got it and contacted me and said that Harvey had died Christmas Day. Sorry. And I sent a message around, but so much was happening then, and I had lists that was slightly weird.
Afterwards.
So I don't know who got it, but just in case you didn't get it, Harvey died peacefully. He was 92, I think. But it was such a shame because they just moved back to the area, and the last two meetings he had attended, and he was great. We were talking to him. I know there's lots of people here who were talking to him then, and he seemed fine. But it was in his sleep, so what more can you ask? Good life, 92, peacefully. Okay, that's all I wanted. Now Jennifer's going to organize some trips. Yes. Okay, and then you can ask whatever questions you like. You don't have any more questions for us, do we? Quick, say over and out, quick.
Over and out. We adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Let's have two groups. I think we have a lovely sized group here, and maybe Michael would be willing to take a lead. Mr. Yorba, he's been with us and been giving guided tours, and he has stellar experience in 1874. And I can start a group next door in Nellie's Gallery on the World Travel. So if you would all assemble, if you'd like a tour, that is. If you'd rather mingle and just saunter through and enjoy the presentation as is too, but we want to make sure you feel welcomed and have a guided perspective and experience for those who would like one. So for those who can, let's gather towards this red fringed Surrey with Michael, and then those who'd like to start in the gallery with myself, please do. So thank you. We'll keep it short so you can continue to mingle too. So highlight tour is what I'll call it. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Nickel tour.